So, hello everyone. Good morning to you all, or good afternoon to wherever you are. You are welcome to the 2020 IYF Online Academy, Camp Academy. And also, I bring you greetings from the Tema Regional Headquarters of Ghana National Fire Service. This afternoon, we will look at fire safety, and specifically, we'll be talking about home fire safety. We'll take you through some principles that you need to maintain in the home so that you'll be free from fire in the house. But before we talk about this, we also need to know about some basic things about fire. Anyway, my name is Do3 Samuel Fifi Opon, and I'm a safety officer with the Ghana National Fire Service, Tema Regional Headquarters. As I said earlier, our topic this afternoon, we'll talk about home fire safety. And talking about home fire safety, I'll take you through some initial principles of fire. For any fire to start, three main things should be available before that fire can start. Without those three elements, fire will not be able to start. Those three elements, one of them is fuel. The second one is oxygen. And the third one is heat. These three elements come together to form fire. And these three elements, without their right proportion, or if not in their right proportion, fire will not start. Fuel, we define fuel as anything that can burn, or any material that is combustible. Any material that has the quality of burning, we fire service, we term it as fuel. Oxygen is usually obtained from the air that we breathe in. The air that we breathe in has about 21% oxygen in it. And this oxygen, we just need about 16% of it to sustain fire. Heat can be gotten from a number of sources. Heat can be obtained from electricity, from mechanical sources, from natural sources, and from the sun as well, which is also a natural source of heat. And talking about fire, these three things come together to form the fire triangle. So heat, oxygen, fuel make up the fire triangle. And in fire service, we classify fires. We call it classes of fires. Fires are classified according to what is burning or according to the fuel. So we have class A fires, we have class B fires, we have class C fires, we have class D fires. Class A fires are fires that usually involve solid fuels. So any solid substance that is on fire or that accidentally gets on fire or begins to burn, we classify it as a class A fire. So a box which is burning is classified as a class A fire. When paper is burning, we classify it as a class A fire. When charcoal is burning, we classify it as a class A fire. Even the human body, which can also burn, when it's burning, we classify it as a class A fire. Class B fires has to do with flammable liquids. Any liquid that is flammable or that is susceptible to burning, when burning or when on fire, is classified as a class B fire. And examples of class B fires are fires that involves diesel, petrol, kerosene, and whatever, any other liquid fuel that you know. Class C fires are the ones that involves gases. There are certain gases that burns. Propane, the LPG that we use in our home, propane, acetylene. These ones, when they are on fire, they are classified as class C fires. And class D fires, the final one, those ones are the ones that involves metals. There are certain metals that burn. Titanium is an example. Aluminium is also an example. These ones also end up in fire outbreaks sometimes. And these ones, when they are on fire or any metal on fire, we classify as a class D fire. There is another one also known as class E fires in some jurisdictions, but in Ghana National Fires, we don't classify class E fires. Class E fires are usually ones that has to do with electricity. In the course of our study, I will explain why we don't classify electrical fires as a class of fire in Ghana. And for fires to start, you need these three things, as I said: oxygen, heat, and fuel. In the same way, if you want to put that fire out, it's just a matter of eliminating one of these elements of fire. If there is a fire outbreak and you eliminate the heat aspect of it, you'll be able to conquer your fire, or you'll be able to extinguish the fire. If there is another fire outbreak and you're able to cut off oxygen from that fire incident or that fire situation, you'll be able to extinguish that fire. So in order to extinguish fire, it's just a matter of cutting off one of the elements of fire or cutting off one of the sides of the triangle, and you're able to conquer your fire. This morning we'll basically stick to home fire safety. In our homes, we have the oxygen available, we have fuel available in our homes, we have chairs in our homes, we have mattresses, we cook in our homes with LPG, some use charcoal, some even use electricity to cook in our homes. We have fuel in our homes, which is the LPG gas. We have books, our children, even we ourselves, we study in our homes. We have our books, we have our computer. These are all combustible materials. Our sofas that we sit on, our beds, even our furniture in our homes, they are all combustible materials. And whilst in our home, we are able to breathe. So that means oxygen is also present in our home. So the only thing left for us is heat. And even we use heat in the house, but then it's not at the right proportion for fire to get out of hand. So in the home, one thing that usually brings about fire is electricity. When electricity is not used very wisely, it ends up in fire outbreak. So I'll talk about some causes of electrical fires. When in our homes, when we overload our sockets, it can end up in fire outbreaks. Our sockets that we use in powering our electrical equipment, they all have a maximum load that they can take. An extension socket has maximum load that they can take. There are some you see about 5 holes in them or 5 different sockets in them. That doesn't mean you should fill that particular socket with all the gadgets. No. Every socket even has a particular number of amperes that it can take, so or voltage quantity it can take. So when plugging in appliances, you know what to plug in. You don't plug it above its capacity. In the same way, some heating gadgets like microwave, the kettle we use in our homes, those ones you need to plug them directly in the wall socket. You don't even use an extension socket for these ones, because these ones are high voltage gadgets, and when you use these extension boards, sometimes their capacity are not able to match them. So the best thing to do is to plug them directly in the socket in the wall. Also, we shouldn't entertain live wires in our homes. There are some wires in our homes which are uninsulated. When I say uninsulated, I mean cables which have their insulation peeled off. There are certain cables, you have the insulation that are peeled off. When cables have their insulation peeled off and these wires are bare and there is power in them, when they come into contact with combustibles, because there is power in these live cables, they heat. When they come into contact with any combustible, it's susceptible to start a fire outbreak in our home. So let's discourage live cables or uninsulated cables in our homes. If you have such situations in your home, get in touch with a qualified electrician to come and rectify the situation in your home for you. We should not entertain broken sockets also in our homes. When we need to use electricity, when plugging in your plug or your gadget in the socket, make sure the socket is intact. There shouldn't be any broken parts of it. If any parts of it are broken, whilst using the socket, sometimes there are sparks that comes from these sockets. They may fall on a combustible material and end up in fire outbreak. Even apart from that, they can electrocute you. So when using sockets in your homes, make sure you don't use broken sockets in your homes. It's also not advisable to lay cables under carpets in your homes. When you lay cables under carpets in your homes, you walk on these carpets, and as you walk on them, the cables peel off. As they peel off, the wires become bare, and as wires are bare, they heat and end up in fire outbreaks. So make sure you don't entertain cables running under carpets in your homes. If you do that, desist from it. There are certain appliances which we plug in and usually don't go near it, or we hardly turn the sockets off. One example is the fridge. So for your fridge, usually there is the need for you to get a qualified electrician from time to time who will come and check the cabling or the connection, the electrical connection to your fridge for you. The reason why I'm saying that is, whenever you are leaving home or whenever you are done using any equipment in the house or any electrical equipment in the house, there's the need for you to turn off the sockets. And even when you turn off the sockets, you don't leave the plug in. You bring the plug out. You pull out the plug from the sockets. So when you are in the home, you are watching TV, you tune into your television, your radio stations, and there is time for you to leave home for work or to church. You make sure you turn off that gadget and bring out the sockets. But for the fridge, you don't do that to it, because the fridge preserves our food for us and it has to be working all the time. So because we don't go very close to our fridge all the time, or the socket of the fridge, from time to time, every 6 months possibly, you get an electrician to come and check the electrical connection from your fridge to that socket for you, if there is no fault with it or there is no problem with it, so that you stay safe in your house. In the same way, when you are placing your fridge, you don't place it against the wall. There should be some space between your fridge and the wall, because the fridge heats. When the fridge works for some time, it accumulates heat at the back, and when it's against the wall, this heat, or there is no circulation between the fridge at the back of the fridge, so it can end up with the fridge overheating and ending up in a fire outbreak. In the same way, you don't need to hang curtains behind fridges. The back of most fridges gets heated when the fridge are in operation. So when you hang curtain, which is a combustible material behind it, it will end up in fire outbreak. So let's take note of these things and make sure we don't do things that will end up with fire outbreaks in our homes. Let's make sure we practice electrical safety in our homes. If you have kids in the house, don't let them go close to electrical gadgets. Don't leave them to operate certain electrical gadgets in the house, especially the heating equipment, pressing irons, microwave ovens, and water heaters. Make sure kids don't go close to these items or they don't operate them. If they are at an age that they can operate them, make sure you train them very well before they use these gadgets. When you iron, make sure you bring out the sockets or the plug from the socket. Don't iron and just turn off the socket and leave the plug in it. It's not safe. You make sure you bring out the plug from the socket. Not only ironing, every other equipment, electrical equipment you use in your home, you make sure after using it, you bring out the plug from the socket. And the wiring in our homes, after wiring your home, every 25 years, you need to do rewiring, or you need to get an electrician to check your cabling for you if there is the need for you to change them. And when engaging electricians, make sure we engage qualified ones. Electricians are these days even certified by the Energy Commission. So if there is the need for you to engage the services of an electrician, make sure you engage one who is certified or who has been certified by the Energy Commission. Don't go in for a wayside electrician to do your cabling in your house for you or to do any electrical repairs for you. They may end up doing a shoddy work, which will end up in fire outbreak in your home. That is it about electricity. One other aspect in the home that brings about fire outbreaks sometimes is the LPG that we use. The LPG gas that we use in cooking in the home, when not used well, when not used safely, ends up in fire outbreaks in the home. So I'll tell you a few things you need to practice when using your LPG so you stay safe. When using the LPG, in case of any leakages, make sure you don't place a stone on the regulator. It's a very bad practice. When you sense any leakage in your home, first thing you need to do is take off the regulator from the cylinder and check out for the leakage. If it has to do with the cylinder, you make sure you replace the cylinder, and when you send the cylinder for refilling, probably it may be the black valve inside, it will be changed for you, or there's a black seal within the valve of the cylinder. It can be changed at just about 2 cedis for you. Don't place a stone on your cylinder when you sense any leakage in your kitchen. Also, when using the LPG in your home, advisedly, you need to keep the cylinder outside the kitchen. Your LPG cylinder should be outside your kitchen. You don't keep it within the kitchen. But then some circumstances in Ghana or certain situations in our homes doesn't permit us to keep our LPG cylinders outside the kitchen. So if there is the need for you to keep the cylinder inside the kitchen together with the burner, make sure the burner stays far away from the cylinder. You don't keep the cylinder and the burner very close to each other. It's not a good practice. You make sure the burner stays at one end of the kitchen and the cylinder also stays at another end. So in so doing, that means when purchasing the gas tube or the hose for your burner and gas cylinder, there's a need for you to purchase a very long hose. Don't go to the market and buy a 2-yard hose or just a 1-yard hose and fix on your gas setup. It's not the best. You make sure you keep your gas cylinder very far away from your burner. Also, when keeping your gas cylinders in the home, you make sure you place them on a wooden platform. You just don't place them on the bare ground. Whilst you keep your cylinder on the bare ground, it's susceptible to rust. Water goes under it, and the bottom of the cylinder begins to rust. As it rusts, that same rust action takes place within the cylinder, and it reduces the thickness of the cylinder, and holes are created in it, which leads to leakages. And LPG leakages are not safe in our homes, so as much as possible, let's prevent things that will lead to LPG leakages in our homes. When using the LPG tube, from time to time, we make sure we look out for leakages on the hose. Best way to detect leakages on the gas hose is possibly to run the hose through ladder or through soapy water. When you run it through soapy water, anywhere you happen to see bubbles within the water, there's a likely leakage on the hose there. So when you detect any leakage like that, immediately make sure you change the hose. You don't keep changing them, you don't keep using that hose. And even when using the hose, from time to time, you need to change them. In the same way, the gas cylinder too, you need to change them, possibly after every 10 years, depending on how you have used it. You don't use the gas cylinder to a stage where it has deteriorated so much that you still want to use it. It's not the best practice. You also don't go to the market and buy a reconditioned cylinder. There are certain cylinders people use outside the country, even within the country, someone uses it and discards it. He or she has discarded the cylinder, someone picks it up, sprays it, and brings it back to the market to sell as a second-hand cylinder. No, it's not advisable to buy second-hand cylinders on the market. You make sure whenever you need to purchase a gas cylinder, you purchase a brand new one. You don't purchase a second-hand gas cylinder for use in your home. When using the gas cylinder as well, or the gas setups, also we make sure our kids don't go very close to them. When using gas in your homes, don't receive calls or phone calls in your kitchen. Don't receive calls very close to your LPG setup. And in case you sense any gas leakage in your house, make sure you don't touch any electrical gadgets, especially our switches and our sockets. You make sure you don't touch any of them. Whilst operating electrical sockets and switches, there are sparks that are generated within these sockets. And gas, LPG is also another form of gas, so they move around. They can enter crevices, they can enter every little hole in your home. So assume the gas has leaked, and it has leaked even into your socket. Operating a switch during the leakage may create a spark in the socket, and with the LPG being full stuck in the socket there, may spark an explosion in your home. So anytime you sense the leakage of gas in your home, you make sure you don't touch any sockets, don't touch any switch. The best thing to do is to disconnect your gas connection, remove your regulator from your cylinder, and open all windows and possibly doors in your homes for the gas to go out, for air to blow out the gas leakage in your room. Then when you are very satisfied that the gas has left your room, then you can operate your other electrical equipment. That is it for gas. And I'll talk about the last aspect of it in the home, the last activity in the home that also usually brings about fires in our homes, which has to do with the usage of naked lights. When we use naked lights in our homes, there are certain naked lights we use in our homes. One example is candles. During lights out, we tend to use candles to enable us see in our homes. Another thing some people also use in their homes is the mosquito coil. To ward off mosquitoes, some people decide to light mosquito coil in the night to use so that mosquitoes will not disturb them. When using these gadgets or when using these items, we need to use them very safely. Lighting a mosquito coil, lighting a candle, you don't light them and place them on a combustible item. You don't place them on wood or on a plastic surface. It's not the best. As they burn, they will burn down and they will end up igniting that wooden substance you put in on it or the plastic gadget that you put on it. So you make sure in your homes when using candles, when using mosquito coils, place them on a porcelain plate or even on a metal plate so that as they burn down, they will not burn the thing that you have placed it on it. And usually with candles, you place it even in a porcelain bowl and pour water around it as well. That's the safest way to use candles. And when using candles, let's not place it on our bed and say we are even reading. We are reading. We may end up sleeping and your candle will even knock it off. It will fall on your mattress and you end up burning as well. So when using candles, when using mosquito coils in our homes, we should be very vigilant. We should use them very safely and make sure they don't end up in fire outbreaks. One last thing I'll leave with you is matches. Matches is another naked light we use in our homes. Let's use them safely. Let's keep them out of reach of our children. Let's make sure we don't keep matches at places where our children will get hold of it to use. When they are very close to where children can use, they will pick it up. Kids like playing with matches a lot. When they are playing with these matchsticks, they will light it and they will like the feeling, seeing the light burning. But then as it gets closer to their hand, the heat touches their hand, they experience the heat, and the next thing they will do is to drop it. You may not be lucky, they will drop it on a combustible item in your room, which will end up in a fire outbreak. So let's keep our matches safe. Let's keep all lighting equipment very safe in our homes. Let's keep them out of reach of children and make sure we keep safe at all times. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed today's session. Tomorrow we'll join you again with another topic on fire safety. Thank you very much, and thank you for your attention. Goodbye.